Continuation of audio for the Brendan Dassey trial transcripts, day 1. This is a continuation of Prosecutor Kratz questioning of Karen Halbach, mother of Teresa Halbach. All right, now Teresa's photography business, you said, also included working at least part-time for Auto Trader magazine. What were you aware of her duties with that magazine? No people would call Auto Trader to have pictures of their vehicles taken, and a photographer would have a certain area, and then Teresa would go. When somebody in her area would want a picture taken, she would set up an appointment with them and then go take the picture of the vehicle for them. Would Teresa ever discuss or describe with you where some of her clients were that she took pictures of? Once in a while she would, yeah, if she was over and talking with us. All right, had you ever heard, at least before the 31st of October, '05, had you ever heard the name Stephen Avery? Yes, I did. And Teresa, did she ever mention being at Mr. Avery's property before? 2 times she had told me she had taken pictures at the Avery salvage yard. All right, Mrs. Halbach, were you familiar with the kind of vehicle that Teresa drove? Yes, I was. Could you describe that for the jury, please? It's a Toyota RAV4. I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 3. Can you tell us what that is, please? It's a picture of Teresa in front of her vehicle. Before moving into the investigation itself, you, I think, had mentioned that Teresa had some younger sisters. Could you tell me their names, please? Katie and Kelly. I'm sorry? Katie and Kelly. How much younger were Katie and Kelly than she? I think there's 11 years difference between Katie and Teresa, and then Kelly's 2 years younger than Katie. And could you describe the kind of relationship that Teresa had with her younger sisters? They were very close. Teresa always wanted a sister, and they spent a lot of time together, shopping or watching movies or... All right. Did Teresa spend time with her sisters at your home ever? Yeah, they did, and Teresa would come over Sunday nights a lot because their 3 favorite shows were on, so they'd watch it all together and goof off. And all right, were Sunday nights kind of a family night or regular time for all of you to get together? Right, the kids would always stop in on a Sunday time, sometime during the day. Karen, I'm going to direct your attention to Sunday, October 30th of 2005. Do you remember that day? Yes. Could you tell the jury what you remember about Sunday, the 30th of October? My dad's birthday is October 31st, Halloween, so the day before my whole family got together at his house and we just celebrated his birthday during the day. Was Teresa in attendance at that party? Yes, she was. Were the rest of the siblings there as well? Yes, they were. What happened that night, if you recall? That night, we milked cows, and then Teresa came home from about 7 because Extreme Makeover Home Edition was coming on and she wanted to watch it with the girls. She was at your house? Right, at our house. All right, do you know about what time Teresa left your home on the 30th? I would say it was after 10. Did you know what Teresa's work schedule was the next day? That is the 31st? No, I did not. How often during the week would you speak with your daughter, Teresa? She might stop in once or twice or call, depends on how busy she was, or if we were busy on the farm, you know. On the 31st of October 2005, how old was Teresa? 25. Had Teresa ever been married? No. And at that time, that is on the 31st of October 2005, was Teresa involved in a relationship? Did she have a boyfriend or anything? No. Mrs. Halbach, when was the first time that you had heard that Teresa was missing? On Thursday, November 3rd, about 1 o'clock, Tom Pierce called me and he was concerned about Teresa because she hadn't shown up at the studio Tuesday or Wednesday, and because she always stopped in at least once a day, even if she wasn't really busy that day. But he said what really worried him was that her cell phone, her voicemail, was full. He got a message saying that, and that was very unusual for Teresa because that was her business phone also. And for her not to return somebody's message was very odd, so that worried me too. Do you know what kind of cell phone Teresa had? Yes, I do. Tell the jury, please. She had a Motorola Razr V3 or something like that. I'm going to hand you what has been marked for identification as exhibit number 8. Tell the jury what that is, please. It's a receipt for her cell phone. And do you know if that receipt has a date on it? That is, when she purchased her Motorola Razr cell phone. Yes, it says August 30th, 2005. I'm going to show you also what's been marked as exhibit number 9. I'm going to have you turn to the last page of that exhibit and ask if you can identify this as the cell phone provider contract with Singular Phone. Yes, it is. Does that include, and by the way, is that the same date of October 30, 2005? Yes, it is. And does it include the make and model of her phone towards the bottom? That is a Motorola V3. Yes, it does. Phone. Mrs. Halbach, on the 3rd of November, after being informed by Teresa's business partner that she was missing, could you tell the jury what you and other family members did? I called Teresa's 2 brothers, Tim and Mike, to ask if they had heard from her. They said no, and I told them about Tom Pierce calling me, so they got worried too. And then they started calling people around. And in the meantime, my husband was out plowing in a field. I went and brought him home, and I said, we need to look for Teresa to find out where she is. And then he went, and Teresa had a roommate. He went and talked to the roommate, asked if he had seen her in the last 3 days. And while he did that, I called Auto Trader magazine to see when the last time they had heard from her, and I didn't get an answer right away. So then I called the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Were there other citizens, not only family members, but other citizens, even on that first day, even on the 3rd, that were trying to help locate Teresa? Right. We called Teresa's friends, or Tim and Mike started, and they in turn called other people. We had a lot of people looking for her by phone. Were you able, even on that first day, even on the 3rd of November, to try to retrace her steps from when she was last seen? That is, on the 31st of October? Yes. Mike, my son Mike, was able to get into Teresa's cell phone records, and he knew that I'm not sure how to say it, or just go ahead. He knew that she hadn't looked at her messages or when her last call was, and that was on Monday, so he knew that was odd. So we knew something was up, so we kept looking for her. All right. The fact that Teresa hadn't retrieved her voicemail messages since the 31st, obviously that worried you? Right. Were you able, or were you, with the assistance of your sons, able to determine the last stops or the last places that Teresa was on the 31st? I know the boys knew where her last stops were on the 31st, but I'm not sure how they found that out. Okay. Do you know if they were using cell phone records to try to retrace her steps on the 31st? They were doing that, yes. Were you told, and did you have any discussions with them that her last appointment that afternoon, that is the 31st, was with Stephen Avery, or at least with that property? Yes, I was. Mrs. Halbach, between the 3rd of November and the 4th of November, did you work with any outside agencies in trying to search for Teresa? In other words, did you work to develop any missing person posters? Yes, we did. Can you describe that process for us, please? On Thursday night, Jay Breyer called us. He works with YES, Youth Educated in Safety, and helped us put together a missing person poster for Teresa. Have you look at the back of that exhibit that I've given you. What number is that? 5. Exhibit number 5. Can you tell us what that is, please? This is Teresa's missing person poster. All right, on the 3rd and especially on the 4th of November, do you recall citizens distributing thousands of these posters throughout northeast Wisconsin? Right, yes we did. That was mainly what we did on Friday, was distribute posters. Do you remember what other efforts citizens, that is family members and other citizens, engaged in that Friday? We're talking Friday the 4th. My understanding, I stayed home with our 2 younger daughters, but they would hand out posters, but they'd also keep their eyes open alongside of the road, in case she had an accident, or I believe if they thought she went to Green Bay and back and had an accident, they followed them roads, looked in the ditches. All right. Were you aware that law enforcement, that is the police departments, were also performing aerial, that is airplane searches? Yes. Was Teresa or her vehicle found either that Thursday or that Friday? No. Tell us then what the family and friends of Teresa planned for Saturday, the 5th of November. Teresa had a good friend, Ryan Hilligus, and he got a group of people together at Teresa's house, and they organized searches in the area in Manitowoc County where she was last seen, or her last 3 appointments on Monday. So they wanted to search them areas for sure, and they searched all along roadways, under bridges. Our main thought was she had a car accident, and I think that's what they focused on. You had mentioned that your husband and you had milked cows, at least during one of the days. Could you describe whether or not that's the family business? That's what you guys do? That's what we do, yeah, we're dairy farmers. On Saturday, the 5th of November, were you aware of a young woman, actually two women, Pam and Nicole Sturm, being involved in the search efforts? Yes, I was. Could you tell the jury who is Pam Sturm? Pam Sturm is my husband's first cousin. All right. And do you know where Miss Sturm and her daughter Nicole were searching? They had asked Ryan Hilligus if anybody was searching the Avery salvage yard. He didn't think so though, so she said her and her daughter were going to go search the junkyard. All right, I know this is difficult, Miss Halbach, but later that day, did you receive any news? Pam and Nicole stopped at our house later in the day and told us that they had found Teresa's vehicle. Were you asked at all to either identify the vehicle or to further assist in law enforcement efforts that day, that is Saturday? Yes, I was. And what did you do Saturday, if you remember? I think investigator Wiegert called me after he was in contact with Pam Sturm, and he asked me if Teresa's RAV4 had a limo sticker on it. Limo Toyota sticker on it. If her what? I'm sorry. If her RAV4 had a limo Toyota sticker on it. Her vehicle? Yeah. All right. What is a limo Toyota sticker? That's where she bought it, in Green Bay. All right. Do you know if you were able to assist them in that? I didn't know for sure, but I knew Mike did, so I called Mike and asked him, and Mike called me back, or he said yes, it did, and then I told Mr. Wiegert it did. All right. What's the next you heard from law enforcement? I draw a blank. I can't think. Okay. How often was it that law enforcement was contacting you or keeping you informed about the investigation? Very often. They kept us well informed. Let me just ask you, Mrs. Halbach, we'll get into some other easier areas, but within the next day or two, were you informed that human remains were found that they believed to be your daughter Teresa? Right, yeah. Do you remember when you were told that? I think we knew human remains were found Tuesday, but I think on Wednesday, the 9th, we were told that they were identified as Teresa's. All right, Mrs. Halbach, were you aware of a camera, a digital camera that your daughter had provided to her by Auto Trader to take pictures of her cars, at least for that part of her job? Yes. I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 6. Ask if you can tell the jury what that is, please. It's the box for the digital camera. Now, exhibit number 6 indicates a PowerShot A310 by Canon. Do you know where this box was located? In Teresa's house. Teresa tend to keep boxes and receipts and things like that? Yep, she did that. Kind of a pack rat? Well, I called it organized. Okay, were you aware of a personal data assistance, something called a PDA that Teresa also owned? Yes, she had one of them. I show you what's been marked for identification as exhibit number 7. Tell us what that is, please. It's the box for her PDA. And as long as Mr. Wiegert's up, I'm going to also give you exhibit number 10. Tell us what that is, please. It's a receipt for PDA that she bought at Target November 15, 2004. Now, PDA, at least the most common version is, or sometimes it's called a Palm Pilot. Do you know what these things do? I think you can put your appointments in it, your schedules, that type of thing. All right. And the Palm Zyre 31 brand, the box that we're looking at in the exhibit that you've just identified, was that again found in Teresa's apartment? Yes, it was. Just a couple more questions, Mrs. Halbach. The investigation into Teresa's disappearance and her death required DNA samples being provided. Were you asked for one of those? Yes. And do you know about when you had to give a DNA sample to compare with some of the materials that were? I think it was in the spring. All right. But you did provide a sample of, I think it was your saliva. Is that right? Right. The last question, difficult question I have for you, Mrs. Halbach, is at any time after the 30th of October, that evening after 10 on the 30th of October 2005, had you ever seen or heard from your daughter, Teresa Halbach? No, I did not. Attorney Kratz. At this time, Judge, I would move the admissions of exhibits 1 through 10. The court. Any objection? Attorney Freeman. What was 8 and 9? Attorney Kratz. The 2 receipts and the contract. Attorney Freeman. No objection. The court. Mr. Kratz, did you introduce an exhibit 4? Attorney Kratz. That was I did show you. That was the it was a photo of your family. Do you still have it up there? No, I gave it back. Attorney Kratz. Oh, Mr. Wiegert, let's put it up there. By Attorney Kratz. We were talking about your family, and I'll show you exhibit number 4, Attorney Kratz. I apologize, Your Honor.